He was a man who knew what it meant to struggle. Every morning, before the sun had even thought about showing itself, he was already awake. His name was David, and he was a single father to a 7-year-old daughter named Mia. Life had not been easy for them. 2 years ago, his wife had passed away after a long illness, leaving him to raise their little girl alone. There were days when he felt like he could not breathe, days when the weight of everything pressed down on his shoulders until he thought he might break. But then he would look at Mia, with her bright eyes and her wild curly hair, and he would find the strength to keep going. David worked as a mechanic at a small auto shop on the east side of town. It was not a fancy place, but it paid the bills. The owner, an old man named Frank, had given him the job when he was at his lowest point. Frank understood what it was like to lose someone. His own wife had died 10 years earlier, and he had raised 2 boys on his own. So when David walked into the shop with hollow eyes and a limp handshake, Frank did not ask too many questions. He just handed him a uniform and said, "You start tomorrow." That was 18 months ago. Now, David had settled into a routine. He would drop Mia off at school every morning at 7:30, then drive to the shop. He would work on cars until 3 in the afternoon, when he would leave to pick Mia up from her after-school program. Then they would go home, make dinner together, and he would help her with her homework. It was a simple life, but it was theirs. One Thursday afternoon, David was getting ready to leave the shop a little early. Mia had a dentist appointment, and he did not want to be late. He was washing his hands at the sink in the back of the garage when Frank stuck his head through the door. "Hey, David, I got a favor to ask," Frank said. "My wife's sister is trying to set me up on a blind date. Can you believe that? I'm 63 years old. I don't need a blind date, but she won't stop nagging me about it. So I told her I would go, but only if she found someone for you too." David turned off the water and dried his hands on a rag. "What are you talking about, Frank?" "I'm saying my sister-in-law has a friend. A nice woman, from what I hear. She's looking for a good man. I told her about you, and she said her friend would be happy to meet you. So I set it up. Dinner tonight at 7 o'clock at Luigi's on Main Street." David stared at him. "Tonight? Frank, I can't. I have Mia. She's going to a friend's house. Remember? You told me last week that Mia's friend Sophie invited her for a sleepover. Tonight is the night." David had forgotten. Mia had been talking about it for days. He had already packed her little backpack with her pajamas and her favorite stuffed rabbit. He was going to drop her off at Sophie's house after the dentist. That meant he would have the whole evening to himself. He had planned to catch up on laundry and maybe watch a movie. But a blind date? "I don't know, Frank," he said slowly. "I haven't been on a date in years. I don't even remember how to talk to a woman outside of telling her that her transmission is shot." Frank laughed. "You'll be fine. Just be yourself. The restaurant is nice, but not too fancy. Wear a clean shirt. And for God's sake, don't talk about cars the whole time." David sighed. He knew Frank meant well. The old man had been trying to get him back out into the world for months. And maybe, just maybe, it was time. He was lonely. He would never admit it out loud, but the nights were long and quiet after Mia went to sleep. He missed having someone to talk to, someone to share a cup of coffee with in the morning. "Fine," he said. "Give me her name. Or do I just show up and look for the woman holding a red rose?" Frank grinned. "Her name is Sarah? You'll figure it out. Now go. You're going to be late for Mia." David grabbed his jacket and headed out the door. He drove to the dentist's office, picked up Mia, and took her to get her teeth cleaned. She was brave, as always, and did not even cry when the dentist poked at her gums. Afterward, he dropped her off at Sophie's house. Sophie's mother, a kind woman named Linda, hugged him and told him not to worry. "She'll be just fine," Linda said. "You go enjoy your evening." David smiled and thanked her. Then he drove home to get ready. He took a shower, shaved, and put on a dark blue button-down shirt that had been hanging in his closet for months. He looked at himself in the mirror and barely recognized the man staring back. He looked tired, but there was something else in his eyes. Hope, maybe, or just nerves. He left his apartment at 6:30. The restaurant was only 15 minutes away, but he wanted to be early. He drove slowly, thinking about what he would say. He did not know anything about this woman, Sarah. Frank had not given him any details. He did not know how old she was, what she looked like, or what she did for a living. All he knew was that she was a friend of Frank's sister-in-law, which meant she was probably a decent person. Frank's wife came from a good family. As he turned onto Sycamore Street, he saw a car pulled over to the side of the road. It was a small blue sedan, and the hood was open. A woman was standing in front of the car, staring at the engine with her hands on her hips. She was wearing a nice dress and heels, and she looked completely lost. David hesitated. He did not want to be late for his date, but he also could not just drive past someone who needed help. His father had raised him to be that kind of man. So he pulled over, parked his truck, and got out. "Having some trouble?" he asked as he walked toward her. The woman turned around. She had dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, and her eyes were a warm shade of brown. She looked frustrated but relieved to see him. "Oh, thank God," she said. "I don't know what happened. I was driving, and then the car just started shaking. I pulled over, and now it won't start again." David walked around to the front of the car and looked under the hood. He could tell right away that the problem was something simple. A loose hose, maybe, or a bad connection. He reached in and wiggled a few things. The woman stood behind him, watching nervously. "Are you a mechanic?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am," he said without looking up. "I work at Frank's auto shop on the east side." "Thank goodness. I have somewhere very important to be tonight, and I cannot be late." David found the problem. A wire had come loose from the battery terminal. It was an easy fix. He tightened it with his fingers and told her to try starting the car. She got behind the wheel, turned the key, and the engine roared to life. She let out a happy little scream. "You fixed it," she said, jumping out of the car. "Thank you so much. What do I owe you?" David shook his head. "Nothing. Just be careful. That wire might come loose again. You should take it to a shop tomorrow and have someone look at it properly." "I will," she said. "I promise. Thank you again. You really saved me." She smiled at him, and for a moment, David forgot about his blind date. There was something about her smile that made him feel warm inside. He wanted to say something, to ask her name, to find out where she was going. But then he remembered the time. It was almost 7 o'clock. "I have to go," he said quickly. "Good luck with your car." "Good luck with whatever you're doing tonight," she said with a little wave. David got back in his truck and drove away. He looked in his rearview mirror and watched her get back into her car. Then he turned the corner and headed toward Luigi's. He arrived at the restaurant at 7:05. The hostess showed him to a small table near the window. He sat down and ordered a glass of water. Then he waited and waited. 15 minutes passed. Then 30. He started to think that maybe she was not coming. Maybe she had changed her mind. Or maybe Frank had given him the wrong information. He was about to get up and leave when the door of the restaurant opened. A woman walked in. She was wearing a nice dress and heels, and her dark hair was pulled back in a ponytail. David looked at her, and his heart nearly stopped. It was the woman from the side of the road, the one whose car he had just fixed. She scanned the room, and then her eyes landed on him. She froze. For a long moment, they just stared at each other. Then she started to laugh. It was a nervous, disbelieving kind of laugh, but it was real. "You have got to be kidding me," she said as she walked toward his table. David stood up, still in shock. "You're Sarah?" She nodded, still laughing. "And you must be David." He pulled out her chair for her, and she sat down. He sat across from her, and for a few seconds, neither of them knew what to say. Finally, Sarah spoke. "So, you're the mechanic who saved my evening, and also my blind date. What are the odds?" David shook his head slowly. "I don't know, but I have a feeling this is going to be a story we tell for a long time." Sarah smiled. "I think you might be right." They ordered dinner, and the conversation came easily. Sarah told him that she was a teacher at the elementary school across town. She had been married once, but it had ended badly. She did not have any children, but she loved her students like they were her own. David told her about Mia, about losing his wife, about the shop. He did not hold back. He was tired of pretending to be okay. Sarah listened. She did not interrupt. She just nodded and looked at him with those warm brown eyes. By the time they finished dessert, the restaurant was almost empty. Neither of them wanted the night to end. David walked her to her car, the same blue sedan he had fixed just hours earlier. "Thank you for tonight," Sarah said. "And thank you for stopping to help me earlier. Most people would have just driven past." David shrugged. "I couldn't do that. It's not who I am." Sarah reached out and touched his hand. "I'm glad. I'll see you again, David." He watched her drive away, and for the first time in a long time, he felt something he had almost forgotten. Hope. Not the quiet, desperate kind that kept him going through the hard days, but the bright, buzzing kind that made him believe that maybe, just maybe, things were going to be okay. He got back in his truck and drove home. The apartment was quiet without Mia. He sat on the couch and looked at his phone. There was a text from Frank. "How did it go?" David typed back a single word. Perfect. Then he put his phone down and smiled into the darkness. The days that followed were different. Not in a dramatic way, but in the small, quiet moments. David found himself thinking about Sarah more than he wanted to admit. He would be working on a car, and suddenly her laugh would pop into his head. He would be making dinner for Mia, and he would remember the way Sarah looked at him across the table, like she was really seeing him for the first time. They had exchanged numbers before leaving the restaurant. Over the next week, they texted each other constantly. Little messages at first. Good morning. How was your day? Don't forget to get that wire checked. Then the messages got longer. She told him about her students, about the little boy in her class who could not read but loved to draw. He told her about Mia, about the time she had tried to bake cookies by herself and set off the smoke alarm. On Saturday, Sarah asked if she could meet Mia. David hesitated. He had never introduced anyone to his daughter before, not since his wife died. He was scared. What if Mia did not like her? What if Sarah did not like Mia? What if things got complicated? But he also knew that he could not hide forever. So he said yes. They met at a park near David's apartment. Sarah brought a frisbee and a bag of grapes. Mia was shy at first, hiding behind David's leg. But Sarah did not push. She sat down on the grass and started throwing the frisbee to herself, pretending she could not catch it. Mia giggled. Then she ran over and grabbed the frisbee. Heads up, Mia shouted, and threw it right at Sarah's face. Sarah caught it just in time. Nice throw, kid. You got an arm. They played for an hour. By the end, Mia was holding Sarah's hand and showing her all the good spots for climbing trees. David sat on a bench and watched them. His heart felt full in a way it had not felt in years. After the park, they went for ice cream. Mia got chocolate, Sarah got strawberry, and David got vanilla because he was boring, Mia said. They sat at a little table outside the shop, and Mia told Sarah about her favorite cartoon. Sarah listened like it was the most important story in the world. When it was time to go, Mia hugged Sarah around the waist. Are you coming to our house for dinner tomorrow? She asked. Sarah looked at David. He smiled and nodded. I would love to, Sarah said. That night, after Mia was asleep, David sat on his couch and thought about how much his life had changed in just 1 week. A week ago, he was a lonely single father who had given up on love. Now, he was making dinner plans with a woman who made him laugh and who played frisbee with his daughter. He picked up his phone and texted Sarah. Mia likes you. She replied a moment later. I like her too. And I like you, David. Just so you know. He fell asleep smiling. The next few weeks were a blur of happiness. Sarah started coming over for dinner twice a week. She helped Mia with her reading. She taught David how to cook something other than spaghetti and frozen vegetables. They went for walks in the park and watched movies on the couch after Mia went to bed. But life is not a fairy tale. There were hard moments too. Mia had nightmares sometimes, dreams about her mother. Sarah held her and told her it was okay to be sad. David had bad days, days when grief hit him out of nowhere. Sarah sat with him in silence, not trying to fix anything, just being there. One night, Sarah asked him about his wife. They were sitting on the balcony of his apartment, looking at the stars. It was late, and the city was quiet. What was she like? Sarah asked softly. David was quiet for a long time. Then he said, she was bright, like the sun. When she walked into a room, everything felt warmer. She loved Mia more than anything in the world. When she got sick, she fought so hard. Not for herself, for Mia, for me. Sarah reached over and took his hand. I'm sorry I never got to meet her. David squeezed her hand. I think she would have liked you. Why do you say that? Because you make me happy. And that's all she ever wanted for me. Sarah leaned her head on his shoulder. They stayed like that for a long time, watching the stars, not saying anything. Sometimes silence says more than words ever could. A month passed. Then 2. David realized that he was falling in love with Sarah. He had tried to stop it, to protect himself, but it was no use. She was kind and patient and strong. She made him want to be a better man. She made him believe in the future again. One evening, after putting Mia to bed, David went into the living room where Sarah was reading a book on the couch. He sat down next to her and took a deep breath. Sarah, he said, I need to tell you something. She put her book down and looked at him. What is it? I love you. The words came out before he could stop them. I know it's fast. I know we haven't known each other for very long. But I love you, and I don't want to imagine my life without you in it. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. She set her book on the table and cupped his face in her hands. David, I love you too. I think I have loved you since the moment you stopped to help me fix my car. You didn't know me. You didn't have to stop. But you did. Because that's who you are. And that is the kind of man I want to spend my life with." They kissed, and it felt like coming home. The news spread quickly. Frank was the first to know, because David told him the next morning at the shop. Frank grinned, so wide it looked like his face might split in half. "I knew it," Frank said, slapping David on the back. "I knew you two would hit it off. That's why I set it up." "You didn't set up the car trouble," David pointed out. "No, but I set up the date. The rest was just fate." David laughed. "Yeah, I guess it was." Mia was the next to know. David sat her down at the kitchen table one afternoon and told her that he and Sarah loved each other very much. Mia's eyes went wide. "Does that mean Sarah is going to be my mom?" she asked. David took a deep breath. "No, sweetheart. No one can ever replace your mom. But Sarah can be someone new. Someone who loves you and takes care of you. Is that okay?" Mia thought about it for a moment. Then she nodded. "Okay, but she has to promise to always share her ice cream with me." David laughed and hugged her. "I think she can do that." Sarah moved in 3 months later. It was a big change for everyone. David's apartment was small, and suddenly there were 2 more toothbrushes in the bathroom and a stack of Sarah's books on the coffee table. But it felt right. It felt like their home had been waiting for her. They established new routines. Sarah made breakfast every morning while David got Mia ready for school. Then David dropped Mia off, and Sarah drove to her own school. In the evenings, they cooked dinner together. Sometimes they danced in the kitchen to old songs on the radio. Mia would roll her eyes and pretend to be embarrassed, but she was always smiling. The wedding was small, just family and close friends. Frank was the best man. Sophie's mother, Linda, made the cake. Mia was the flower girl, and she took her job very seriously, throwing petals with intense concentration. Sarah wore a simple white dress, and David wore the same blue button-down shirt he had worn on their first date. When the preacher asked if anyone objected, Mia raised her hand. Everyone held their breath. "Is there going to be cake?" Mia asked. The whole crowd burst into laughter. The preacher smiled and said, "Yes, there will be cake." "Then I don't object," Mia said. They said their vows under a big oak tree in the park where they had first played frisbee. David promised to always stop and help someone in need. Sarah promised to always share her ice cream. It was silly and sweet and perfect. After the wedding, they went on a small honeymoon. Just 2 nights at a cabin by the lake. Mia stayed with Sophie's family. When they came back, Mia ran into Sarah's arms like she had not seen her in years. "I missed you," Mia whispered. Sarah held her tight. "I missed you too, little one." Life went on. There were still hard days. Grief did not disappear just because love had found them again. David still had moments when he missed his first wife so much it hurt. Sarah still had moments of doubt, wondering if she was good enough, if she could really be a mother to a child who had already lost so much. But they talked about it. They did not hide their feelings or pretend to be strong. They cried together and laughed together and held each other through the storms. One night, a year after their wedding, Sarah came home from work with a secret. She could not stop smiling. David noticed right away. "What's going on with you?" he asked. Sarah sat down next to him on the couch. She took his hand and placed it on her stomach. "We're going to have a baby." David's mouth fell open. He looked at her, then at her stomach, then back at her. "Are you serious?" "I'm very serious." He pulled her into his arms and buried his face in her hair. Tears streamed down his cheeks. Happy tears. The kind he thought he would never cry again. Mia was thrilled when they told her. She immediately started making a list of possible names. Most of them were names of her favorite cartoon characters. Sarah gently suggested that maybe they should not name a baby after a talking squirrel. 9 months later, a little boy was born. They named him Frank, after the old man who had brought them together. Frank the mechanic held the baby in his arms and cried like a baby himself. "You did good, kid," Frank said to David. "You did real good." David looked around the room. At his daughter, Mia, who was holding her new brother's tiny hand. At his wife, Sarah, who was tired but radiant. At his friend, Frank, who had never stopped believing in him. He thought about that Thursday afternoon on the side of the road. The woman in the blue sedan. The loose wire. The blind date he almost missed. He thought about how one small act of kindness had changed everything. And he smiled. Because sometimes, the best love stories do not start with a grand gesture or a perfect plan. Sometimes they start with a stranger on the side of the road, a helping hand, and a heart that is still brave enough to hope.